Hi, my aim here right now is to give a brief update on this game of La Bataille de Español Talavera, and just to say one or two words about the system. First off, you can see, gosh, it looks like a right mess, doesn't it? Just to clarify things, we have the French line here, which essentially has just been ordered a general advance. Continues French cavalry here and here. Then we have the French line here up to here. You can see they pushed over the stream here, and then we have a French unit here, some French artillery, there's some cavalry back here, and a French brigade here, which has just started to push into the town of Talavera. Then here we have a retreating set. These are all plus grand disorder, all trying to push over the bridge. Now you see there's a bridge here, here and here, and according to the terrain effect charts, this is just a stream which only has a +1 movement point to cross, but I thought, why bother showing the bridge there? So I judged that up to about there it's actually quite a large river, and so they all have to pass through there. Outside the city I'm saying, okay, that's a stream. So they're piling together. Then we have Spanish cavalry here, and basically a mass of the Spanish have managed to deploy some of their cannon, and they're basically reeling back. We got several plus grand disorders, that's rout, moving away from these oncoming French. These green ones here are actually French. That one is French, that's French cavalry, and we had Spanish cavalry here. They've just moved back because there wasn't much they could do. They couldn't get a good charge in on the French coming in. This is a British unit, and these are Spanish units. So you can see there's a bit of a breakthrough here. There's a gap. These are actually Spanish cavalry, and then we have the British and the King's Legion moving over this way. So they are vacating their heights. We have some French cavalry here, some British cavalry here, and where did I send the rest? Oh yes, the rest of the British cavalry are coming around here. Essentially, they will join the Spanish cavalry to protect the route of supply of the Spanish and British armies. And the rest of the British army is going to, again, sort of try to protect that region. The Spanish were hoping to hold Talavera for some time, but you can see that the French made short shift of them on the outskirts, so they're going to have to surrender Talavera, and they'll just try to prevent a total French victory by holding on to their supply route. So you can see it was in the last turn that this general advance was ordered. These units have been holding back after the previous two scenarios, attempting various late night attacks which were unsuccessful upon this. The French 4th Corps advance has pushed through the Spanish and is causing that general withdrawal, which was really as predicted and as per plan. But I have got some surprises in that the Spanish have had some success in sending French troops reeling, and in fact that's only one unit, but that's 3 more units like that, and the French Corps will go into, or 4 more units, they'll go into morale level 1, which means -4 on all their morale checks, which is not good. These are just cavalry, and so these are two decent cavalry units which have been routed off the board upon attacking the Spanish, and an artillery unit that was lost there. Compared to the same, only just one permanent loss that counts for the British King's Thingy Legion. So that's sort of equal at the moment, and the Spanish I don't know, in a way they're holding on better than I thought they would. But I found somewhat to my disconsternation they had two kind of reserve divisions, and they were actually pretty much the weakest units, not in terms of strength, but in terms of morale, and which meant they have the highest morale number. So morales are sort of 43, 45, which means that on more than 2/3 of the time they just scarper. Now morale is so important in the La Bataille system, at least in Bataille Premiere rules, which I'm using. For example, here is the combat à l'affût, so that's the fire chart, and this column is odds of 1 to 1, that's column of odds of 2 to 1, and then that one's 3 to 1, then we go all the way up to 10 to 1. But so most attacks going to happen here, many just on the 1 to 1, 2 to 1, and some sort of below, occasionally 3 to 1. I don't think I've had one or two sort of further up, but if you have a close look you can see that these numbers 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, that's the amount of hits you're going to produce. So even on an attack of 3 to 1, that's this column, most of the time you're only going to do one increment of damage, occasionally 2, but not more than that. And what that means is that with many units, at least when the regiments have broken down of sort of 6, 7, that's a full regiment there. No, that's just a very large battalion, I think of 12, but that's unusual. So most around 6, 7, 8, you're going to take a lot of attrition before that's completely eliminated. But then on the other hand, for the French, every 2 of these hits they have to check morale. For the British, I can't remember, it depends, and for the Spanish it's on every hit they check morale. So that gives you another point of weakness for the Spanish. In fact, the Spanish even have to be fired upon, even if there's no damage, they will still check morale. And if you fail a morale check and you're in good order, you disorder. Now when you disorder, it just means you move 3 movement points, or at least 1 hex away, and you take a disorder marker. But that's not the end of it, because at the end of that turn you have to roll to recover. If you roll a successful morale check again, with a slight modifier because you're disordered, then you recover completely. But if you don't recover, you don't stay disordered. You go to +gram disorder, which is rout. So that's what happened to these units. They basically took 1 hit or no hits. They went to disorder, and then in their morale check phase at the end of the turn, they routed away. They routed, and then they can keep routing at 1.5 times their movement rate until they are off the map. So you can see that even just 1 hit, even though a unit might have, say, 7 or 8 increments, they take 1 increment and hit, it could result in them routing clean off the board, depending on their morale. And so it makes the Spanish very brittle, even if they're sort of large units and so forth, and it's hard for them to recover, so they're tending to just keep going, although fortunately they have quite a long distance to go, so that's more morale checks. Because the other thing is, if you succeed in a morale check plus grand disorder, there's big modifiers though. If you succeed in it, it completely goes. You don't go back to disorder and then have to check again. So you just go back to good order and then you can return to the fray. But I think that displays quite well the fact in this system, which is very interesting, that a unit only has to take 1 hit, maybe 2 if it's French, checks morale, and it could be out of the game, which is a significant point. And even if it's not out of the game, it might be a long way away, like this unit hasn't recovered, it just recovered before it went off. So that's okay, that can come back, but you can see it's a long way, so it could be out for a long time. So that's a very interesting point about the system. I think there was something else I wanted to say about it, but I can't remember. So just quick, so the update is that we're on the 2 p.m. turn. We started at 11:40, So that's 2 hours 20 of combat, and you can see the fourth corps went a long way. They sort of surged up here within the first hour. That's say 3 turns, and so they've really been in the battle, in the fight. Apart from their cavalry, which got there first, they've really been in the fight only for about 5 or 6 turns. So I've played a full 6, 7, 8 turns, so we're about to start the 9th turn, and already it's looking like it's going to be quite a French victory. But it's not quite that certain, because the French called up their guard here to outflank and really caused the kind of some rout on the British lines. But the guard is their reserve, so, and with the all-out advance there, the French have no reserves yet to exploit anything, so everything is on their front line, which is working quite well. It's given them a very long line, enabling this kind of like enveloping movement whilst pushing sort of forwards. So the French are all out, but the British are managing to move back. Now we've got until, gosh no, we got until ages. We've got until the 9 a.m. turn. That will be nightfall. 9 p.m. turn. Sorry. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. So times 3. That's 21 more turns. I think that's interesting, because I think that will give the British enough time to set up a line there, and I think the Spanish are going to hold the French back to give them that time. So then there might be a minor lull while the French regroup, and then there will be the final battle, which with that plus grand disorder routing, in effect, you get that typical war game kind of effect of the end of the world. So the closer you are to the edge of the map, the more chances your unit's going to be eliminated, because they will just move off the map, and as is normal, that's just, they're gone. It's a shame in a way, but it's, it sort of has to be done, because the French, they have all this distance to rout and recover themselves, and then yes, it takes time to get back, but we see we have a lot of time. The British, obviously, if they're around here, they will only get 1 or 2 recovery attempts before it's game over for that unit. So yes, the battle's going quite swiftly. I can only play it in small chunks, but each turn takes about half an hour to 3/4 of an hour, which is quite surprising, seeing the size of battle we've got, the number of units we have, and not every unit is in combat, but the combats do resolve quite quickly. It's a very simple system, and I have had to do more. Like this is a photocopy of the back of the terrain effects chart, because inside you have these other necessary charts, and I got fed up with continually flipping, so I have that open. I've got that up there, and you can see I have to add my extra play aids to the play aids, because I never find that there's enough aid in the play aids in all the games I get, and I always have to amend them and update them, basically sort of rules reminders for me. I can understand why companies have got more there, you see. That's just reminders specific for Talavera, not the system. Yeah, I don't know, I'm of the order that I would prefer a lot of information on a player chart rather than little and clarity. I just want it all crammed in there, so I don't like flipping through all, but I still have to do it, check things, so the minimum that is done, the better. For example, this one is just to remind me that olive groves and towns or chapel hexes, you have to be in general or skirmish order. You cannot be in line or column order, column formation, and that's a basic thing, but someone who doesn't play game all the time, is something you're not going to pick up. So I did have Spanish set up in line, and that was a no-no. So without a mnemonic on the counter, I need something on the terrain effects chart like that, and those are the things, I don't know, colour-coded things like that, they work well. But anyway, I'm rambling a bit now, so I'll leave it for now, and I'll record an update when I can, and or if I've got anything possibly interesting to say about the system. One thing I'd like to do is, if I remember and get around to it, is to put a link to this video to Jeff Capuano's videos. He's a new YouTuber, and seek him out because he's doing a wonderful series of videos on La Bataille, the system, an introduction to the system in sort of small bite-sized chunks. So fantastic set of videos which he is ongoing at the moment. Not to mention his turn by turn, moment by moment, complete coverage of La Bataille de Schöngraben and La Bataille de Vauchamps from the ATO magazine. The Schöngraben is one that I have also covered previously. So I can't recommend his channel highly enough for coverage of La Bataille system.